I've toyed with making this podcast for quite some time now, but it's one of those topics that didn't require immediate attention, and we've seen a lot happening over the last few weeks. Obviously, the London terror attack was something that had to be covered, and also there has been the huge issue with the electoral collapse of UKIP and Paul Nuttall's pandering to the ethnic vote. But nevertheless, this has been something that has been in the back of my mind for some time now, and I really feel it's something that needs tackling. It's not the primary issue facing young men, but it's a symptom of that primary issue that faces young men. You see, one of the main issues facing young men is they are becoming weak. They are increasingly becoming cut off from their peers and from strong, healthy, real men who would serve as their role models. And all this is compounded by the increasing number of single-parent families and boys that grow up in a home without a father figure. As such, an increasing number of young men are becoming beta males. This is something I wrote extensively about in my book, The Fall of Western Man, which can be downloaded for free from www.thefallofwesternman.com. It's also available in hardback and paperback. But just to read a few paragraphs from the book to set the scene for this podcast. In a sickening and highly unnatural role reversal, Western man has shed his dominant, strong and manly ways and become feminized, weak and subservient. The strong hunter-gatherer, provider, protector and guardian has withered, becoming emotionally driven and unstable due to a mixture of lamentable role models, a weakened role in society, and an increasingly purposeless existence. In his new role, the Western male adopts everything his forefathers would have once scorned. He becomes reclusive from other males. He dresses and presents himself in ways that are more akin to that of a female, and finds himself increasingly unable to live up to his natural role as the alpha. There are many reasons why the Western male has declined in such a way, and they are a direct product of the sustained attack on the Western mindset. The enemies of the West have sought to undermine both the family unit and its individual constituent parts, the male and the female. The enemies of the West have sought to subvert the natural order of life by reversing the role models of the male and female, something that has weakened the West. End quote. But what are the symptoms of this slide from manliness and strength to the emasculated and weak young men that we see today? Well, one of the most obvious symptoms is the inability of young men to meet females and engage with females in a meaningful way, which obviously leads to many young men failing to find a partner and often experiencing crippling loneliness and a deep-seated depression that stems from not having the natural and fulfilling interactions with the opposite sex that men crave. And remember, the two most natural urges people feel is the will to survive and the will to pass on their genes and procreate. When you look at yourself, you are only here today because generation after generation of your forefathers did just that, survive and procreate. You are the result of an unbroken chain that stretches back for tens of thousands of years. Your DNA, the very essence of who you are, has been passed down from generation to generation. And whilst many lineages reached a dead end through war, disease, or other hardships, yours did not. Your lineage endured, and you are the fruit of that. So to not meet that special person, to not pass on your genes, to not find a suitable partner, would ultimately leave a huge hole in one's life that would lead to an immense craving for something more, something both emotionally, physically, and spiritually fulfilling. Yet increasingly, young men are failing to find a significant other, failing to make that important connection. Now, that in itself isn't some great crime. After all, what has been done to our people has made things increasingly hard to find a partner. And it isn't just men who have lost their way and failed to attract females. Females too have had their minds warped by feminism, have had their ideals of a man twisted by fantasies pushed by the media, and females have thrown off the womanly virtues of motherhood and family life in search of materialism and a career. That's just one of the reasons why there are so many women in their mid-30s on dating sites. And believe me, if you read these women's wish lists, they're gonna be waiting for an awful long time. Trust me, if you're a woman in your mid-30s and you'll only date a guy who is 6'2", has an executive job, a gold-plated pension scheme, owns his own house, his own car, doesn't have children, doesn't have any bad medical history, has the body of an athlete and the face of Tom Cruise, has a master's degree, can cook like Gordon Ramsay, and will wait up until 3 a.m. for you to come home from the club and hold your hair back so you don't get sick in it, you're going to be waiting forever. Because believe me, ladies, if a man is all that, he's either already married, and if he's not, he's going to be dating 22-year-old beauty queens, not someone in their mid-30s. The dating game has been ruined by the way that both young men and young women have had their minds warped. Men have become less desirable, less manly, and more childlike, and women have become less motherly, less loving, and more materialistic. And of course, all of that is by design. This is just what our enemies have planned for us. So it's getting harder to find a partner, and more men are single and living isolated lives. But that's led to many young men slipping into a strange and very worrying habit. And this is something I've only recently come across. There are a number of very attractive young women out there who actively prey on the young men who can't get themselves a partner and feel the most isolated. These very attractive young ladies seek out hordes of beta male followers and use them for money, gifts, and other perks, whilst giving their followers virtually nothing in return, and certainly nothing of any tangible worth. You see, I came across this on Instagram. I discovered a subculture of young men who have become entranced and almost enslaved by a particular type of female. Now, as most people will know by now, I tend to speak my mind, and I can rarely keep quiet when I see something that annoys me. And for good or for bad, this has led me to cause a few people, shall we say, some hurt feelings over the years. And recently, there was another case like this. I came across a young female who is part of a subset of these parasitical females. This female in question, who I'm not going to name for fear of having my channel attacked by her devoted beta male followers, plays computer games on Twitch, and men watch her. For those scratching their heads at this, well, she plays games in a bikini, her underwear, or other revealing outfits. And her fans are then urged to donate money to her if they enjoy the show. Now, because many of these beta males enjoy gaming, they feel they have some connection with her, as, after all, she plays games too, just in her underwear, live on the internet. And to prove their devotion to her, these men, in inverted commas, are eager to gain her approval and prove their feelings for her by donating money or gifts to her. And what do they get in return for this? A mention on Twitter? A shout out on Instagram? Or a little thank you when she's on camera? How utterly pathetic. And this is how I came into conflict with said female. I saw she had thrown a hissy fit whilst gaming, probably a contrived act to gain attention and more views, and she had broken her controller as she launched it across the room. At which point, men were lining up to donate money to her, and one particular fool actually paid outright for a new controller for her on her Amazon wish list, or wherever it was being shipped from. At this point, I had to have one of my signature outbursts, and I promptly found myself under a hail of criticism from her white knights. Eventually, she herself stepped in, branded me a misogynist in a typical but epic fit of virtue signalling, and promptly banned me from ever commenting again. Now, let's break this down. Here we have beta males spending their hard-earned cash, not on taking women out, not on dating sites to meet actual women, not on flowers for a woman they have been speaking to and want to get the attention of, but much, much worse. They are spending their money on women who they have no connection to, women who are scamming them. And some of these women have turned this into a career. They use Patreon or other funding sites to solicit thousands of dollars per month from their fans. And the rewards for these fans include such things as high-resolution images and signed Polaroids. Now, I'm at a total loss to why a grown man would want a signed Polaroid of a woman who would never look at him twice, and a Polaroid that, to add insult to financial injury, was probably taken by her boyfriend. What does a guy do with this? Where does he put it? Because here's a pro tip. If you're a grown man and your bedroom is adorned with pictures of semi-naked women dressed up as computer game characters, or in role-play fantasy outfits, or as cats, or whatever, and your cupboards and drawers are full of creepy stalker-esque Polaroids, you're never going to get a partner. You're never going to procreate. You are the genetic dead end. But there is a better way, and a way that will actually drastically increase your chances of finding a suitable partner. Plus, it will cost you an awful lot less than donating money to or buying gifts for some soulless witch who does webcam shows in her pants. You see, the key to success is shedding your beta male skin and learning to love. Not love some intangible female that will never even know your name, but it's learning to love yourself. Yeah, love yourself. Because when you love yourself, when you have a true adoration for everything that is you, and you look at yourself in the mirror and smile, then you will have something that every woman finds attractive. And that, my friends, is confidence. But to be confident, you have to be happy. You have to be comfortable in your own skin. You have to be able to look in the mirror and smile. And believe me, the best way to be happy with yourself is to be the best version of you that is possible. So take your money and spend it on self-improvement. I've already spoken about going to the gym. I've spoken before about getting fit. I've talked about running, cycling, and boxing. But now I'm going to talk about other aspects of self-improvement. Because if you've got the money to fund women who are looking for an easy life and an endless stream of gifts from adoring white knights on the internet, then you've got the money for nice clothes, a good haircut, money for a smart pair of shoes, and money to make yourself look and feel great. So when you walk out of that door, you feel 10 feet tall and you look your best. So that smile on your face when you get a glimpse of yourself in a mirror, and that confidence it gives you oozes out. And women will look, women will notice, and they will want to talk to you. The West needs confident, young, upstanding men. The West doesn't need shy, retiring, and awkward young men who hide in their bedrooms. The only people who need those men are the people who will use them as victims to enrich their own lives. And believe me, your ancestors didn't reach the heady heights they ascended to by being victims. They built this incredible civilization by being winners. And they were winners because they believed in themselves. Your ancestors weren't prey, not for invaders, not for their enemies, and certainly not for spiteful, money-grabbing women who wanted to use them. They were the masters of their own destiny, and so are you. There's only one person in the world that can turn you into the man you dream about being, and that is you. If you're not happy, if you're not fulfilled, if you're not achieving all you feel you could, look in the mirror and make a pledge, because today is the day you make a change and start on your journey to fulfill your potential and become the man who can make a change for you, a change for your community, and maybe even a change for the entire Western world. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can like it and share on social networks. If you want to hear more from me, please hit the subscribe button as new videos are posted every week. As mentioned earlier, you can also read my book, The Fall of Western Man. It's available as a free ebook and in both hardback and paperback, and all the links are in the description below. Finally, if you want to join in the discussion with me, feel free to add me on Facebook, and you can now also follow me on Twitter as well. Everyone's welcome.